Thompson, and I'm the full president. And I would like to open the meeting. Can I get a second? Can I motion to open the meeting?
I make the motion, second motion.
So who made the motion?
Paul, I didn't
Who seconded?
I did,
Oh.
I seconded it. Lisa opened it with a motion and I seconded.
All right.
I just procedurally, I don't know that you need a motion to open the meeting. Once it's time and you have a quorum, you as president could just say, I'm ready to call this meeting to order.
Yeah.
Because you really don't make motions until you're in the meeting. So you kind of think about it, but it's fine just to make sure everybody's ready to start. So just make sure everybody's ready to start the meeting and you can call the meeting to order. And then there you go.
But, and she could make a motion to agenda meeting.
Oh, to adjourn, you do need a motion to adjourn the meeting, but you get to call the meeting once you have a quorum and you know everybody's been given public notice. So that's really the main thing. Has everybody been given notice? And here we are, let's call the meeting to order. Yep.
Well, we're gonna call the meeting to order. We got a quorum.
Yeah.
So we're gonna call the meeting to order. I like to say, if anybody wanna speak, it's gonna be like 3 minutes for everyone to speak. So if that's okay with everybody, can we continue on?
I'm sorry. So you're gonna say when the speaker is going to speak. I'm gonna be speaking today. I sent in my thing. So you're gonna tell me when I can speak?
No, you can speak, but it's just 3 minutes.
3 minutes, but
Yes.
you're gonna say
Yes.
when I.
Yes, when the
Okay,
minute,
thank
3
you.
minutes is up. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
And, I would like to, I'm kind of nervous, but you guys never know. What's so bad with me? Call the meeting to order, and we're gonna, if we can close the April the 3rd meeting. If anybody got anything to say about the April 3rd meeting?
Have you read the minutes? Have everybody read the minutes?
So these are the minutes from the closed session.
No, these are the minutes from the open
Oh,
session
from the
from
open session,
April
okay.
3rd.
Yeah. So
And we
first
do
one.
have minutes also from the closed session from May 22nd. So,
Because you want to address both sets of minutes.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you cover the closed session minutes also at this
Yeah.
meeting,
Yep.
as well as the other regular meeting minutes.
yeah, so if every,
Ask a question on that. Okay, in H, voter outreach registration, it says Minery's, M-I-N-E-R-Y apostrophe S,
mhm,
outreach. I am assuming that is Minery's Dream Alliance.
mhm.
Yes.
That's spelled incorrectly.
Okay, we'll make a correction. Thank you so much. M-I-N-A-R-Y-S. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so like I was saying, we have, if everybody have a chance to read the April 3rd, board minutes and the closed meeting minutes from May the 2nd, do you have anything that you want to comment on those minutes? Any comments on those minutes? Yes, no?
No,
Okay.
And you want separate motions for the minutes.
Mhm, so at least you gotta make a
So you
motion
got to
for the,
entertain a motion for the approval of the regular minutes.
April 3rd,
Can I get a motion for the April 3rd minutes to
approval.
approve them, the April 3rd meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Then the second,
I'll second it.
okay?
Motion been approved by the board,
So once there's a motion and a second, you can then say, okay, all in favor.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Okay. So that's the approval of those meeting
That's
minutes.
the open meeting.
So you can entertain a motion now for the closed session minutes,
I make a motion for the closed session meeting.
or entertain a
for
motion. What you want to do, Lisa, is as chair, you want to let the other board members make the motions. You can make a motion if you really want to as the chair, but it's always good to invite the motion from somebody else to get, and let them move it and second it, okay?
And I get a motion about the closed meeting we had.
I'll make a motion.
You did?
I'll make a motion.
To
Vote.
approve the minutes? That's what it is. It's a motion to approve the minutes, and then you need a second.
So I'm not the one making that motion.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I wrote them.
Yeah, okay.
Commissioner,
I'll make
a motion.
To
There's
approve
a-
the minutes.
Okay, there's a motion and there's a second.
Second, it.
Okay, and then you want
All
to say,
in
are there,
favor?
yeah, all in favor? Are there any questions?
Are there any questions about the closed meeting that we had?
Because they're closed, I don't feel like I can discuss them in this setting, but I object a nay for approving them.
Okay. Well, you have enough to approve the minutes. It'd be good to know the concerns, but it's, you can't really discuss the substance of the minutes unless you have a way to do that without disclosing what was discussed.
Everybody has my phone number, they can call me, you know, I'm
Okay.
available to meet for coffee.
Yeah. I'll catch you.
Thank you.
So then you can ask for a vote, then all in favor of the
All in
minutes,
favor of
the
the
closed
closed.
session minutes?
Aye.
In favor?
Yeah. Any nays?
Nay, again.
And are you approve the minutes?
Yes, I approve.
Okay, so they are approved.
3-1.
All right, and is there any additions or changes to the, agenda?
May I make a request
Mhm.
regarding the, closing of the meeting to do the, biannual PEP? Could we, with the timeframe allowable, postpone until we have all members of the board present? We have an absence today. Scott
It doesn't
Hoffman.
make a difference. As long as we have a forum, we can go ahead and continue.
Could I entertain a request to be flexible?
That's up to the board. Yeah, you can ask the
So I'm
board.
asking.
Yeah, you can
I was
ask the
quick to get a
board.
Response.
She means flexible.
Yeah.
She wants to hold it out until Scott is
Scott
here.
can-
You know,
we all can be
it's
here.
due July.
Are we meeting in July as a board?
If we have to meet in July, but if there's no business, we won't meet in July.
Well, we can go ahead and do it today.
Does everybody
Get it done
agree?
today. Everybody? Okay with me?
No problem.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and complete, the PEP today. All right, the director's report, there was no board meeting held in May. We all went to Mayo. We all, learned a lot of, got a lot of great information from all the conferences that we attended. So you're not gonna see any May meetings on the website, any, minutes or agendas. And also just to let the board know that we have started our recruitment process. So our interviews will be, the 17th of June. All right, and that's all I have for the director's report. We already went over the board minutes. Did you have a chance to look at the precinct voter count? And just to let everybody know, we have 14,385 registered voters in Kent County, and we definitely need Republicans. So send them my way, send them my way. Next, we have the Open Meeting Act complaint and opinions. You can just go ahead and read down the documents and then get you to at the end, Paul. I'll read down all the documents that was given out, and then we get down to the Open Meeting Act complaints and opinions at the end. Okay?
Whatever. Yep.
You should have the election calendar, and just to let everybody know that the election date has changed. I think it's a week, they moved it a week up. So I think, can you look on the calendar, give me the exact date of what the election will be? Can somebody look on there really fast?
I don't know the calendar. It's in, I get you.
Yeah, it's right there, Bob, it's right in front of you.
Referring to,
Yeah, they moved it up, I think they moved it up 1 week. And while Barb is looking at
Early voting, it looks like early voting begins June the 11th,
Mm-hmm.
am I correct?
Yep.
So,
June.
yeah,
It was June, it was June before.
Oh, okay. Next year.
Pardon me?
So it's saying June 11th.
I'm sorry, June 11th, 2026, early voting.
Yeah, wrong year.
June 11th, 46.
2026.
And you have the calendar, Paul, so it's.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
calendar.
yeah,
Okay, June
Small
6th.
print, but it's there.
okay.
The 11th is correct. And nice and bold.
Mhm. And you also should have some information that was probably given out from the Mayo meeting. It's the updated version of the Open Meeting Act. So I gave all the board members a copy of that. So you should have the meeting agenda and meeting guidelines, the open meeting compliance checklist, the closed meeting instructions, the samples, and the template. You should also have a copy of the SBE and LBE meeting, pre and post meeting activities and notice. Does anybody have any questions in regards of anything that I've just read off? You should also have a copy of the CBCE presentation that was held at Mayo. Stop me if I'm going too fast. You should also have a copy of the general information from the board.
Exact same thing that Steve
Oh,
already
Steve,
was
yeah.
trying to warn us.
I don't know.
Sadly, not too many people focus on the cure. It's more about treatment.
I don't know where that came from. You should also have a copy of the general information from boards and commissions, and also a copy of the secondary employment. You should have the instructions, and you should also have a secondary employment fill-in form. So if you have to report any secondary employment to the ethics. And if you have any questions in regards of the secondary employment, the best thing to do is get in contact with the state ethics. There should be a number on that form, and you can give them a call. Okay, old business. We discussed increasing the election judge pay, but we were waiting for a letter to be drafted. Have anyone drafted a letter to submit to the commissioners as of yet?
Chip, I thought we retained you to do that. Would you roll for that?
Not a letter about, that. There was mention of a letter to the county about the office space.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't drafted that letter yet because I wanted to get confirmation from the board. They would speak to one of the commissioners about that just to get some insight. So I haven't drafted that letter, but I was not asked to draft a letter about Judge.
I thought the board members were going to draft the one about the election judge pay.
I'm looking to the president. I missed that part of the meeting.
Well, you guys can get together. You were here when we had the meeting,
Correct.
but you guys can get together and discuss, drafting a letter and what you want to include in it. So you can do that at a later date. As far as our office security, like I said, we receive a grant, and what we're doing with the grant is we're upgrading our office security. We're getting bulletproof glass and bulletproof doors. And as far as Mayo, we had, like I said, we went to Mayo. We had a Mayo conference May 4th and May 9th in Ocean City. We learned some great information, and we do have a voter outreach that's going to be with Menaries we had one on April 9th, but we did not participate. We didn't have any board members that were able to participate in that one. But we did have one at Washington College. Paul and Miss Mary participated. And I think you guys got some voter registration. Did you get any election judges?
Got two.
Okay, great. And then we're having one
Mary
again.
got two.
Miss Mary
Give
got
credit,
two.
where credit is due.
And then we're having another voter outreach with Menaries on June 11th, and it's going to be at Capitol Heights, and Michelle and Lisa will be attending. Now, Barbara, are you going to this one?
I can discuss it. I already saw it written down as 2 people were attending.
Okay.
And then I'm participating in one on Saturday, the 28th, the last Saturday of the month,
Mhm.
like a walking, door knocking
And who are you participating?
with a nonpartisan group.
Okay.
Where's that gonna be, Barbie?
I believe we've selected the development of Coventry.
Coventry?
Okay, great. All right, and just a reminder, even though it has passed, April 30th, the ethics reports are supposed to be turned into the state ethics.
Is
So
there a
just-
deadline for the one regarding second employment? Do you know that off the top of your head?
No, but you know what, it should be in your packet, but I don't know off the top of my head. And just to let everybody know, once again, that the working class party is now a recognized party once again. And we briefly went over the budget in the last meeting.
Barbara, I don't see a date on it, so.
It might be in the instructions. of the phone number.
Correct, yeah.
I'll get right on it.
Anybody have any questions or concerns or want to discuss anything before I go to the new business?
Is this a good time to ask, besides the outreach with, Mary's Dream Alliance, as a board, are there other locations that might even be branching out of just the hub of Chestertown?
Well, Menaries reached out to us. We haven't heard from anybody else as of yet, but we will be attending Kent County Fair. As usual, we go there, and we will also be attending Legacy Day.
Those are
So,
the items right on new business coming up to talk about. So,
Throwing out others, especially if I keep hearing, well, Chair, I'm nonpartisan, but we need more Republicans. So I'm trying to think of events that might involve I don't know, gun bashes or hunting and fishing and like getting up to Molly's to a tent sale or down to Rock Hall at an event with a fire hall, or I just
If you know-
feel like
if
we
you
should
hear-
do similar type events that when we look at the precincts and the voters, I think that we're batting zero potentially.
Well, if you
What you
hear
look at
Isn't the
anything,
board, isn't the board going where it's invited?
yeah,
So
we,
any
yeah,
organization
Mhm.
that wants to focus on elections and voter recruitment can invite this office to be there. This
mhm.
board doesn't like create those events. There might be a
Mhm.
few that are election related, but it's generally be invited. So those events you described, whether they appeal to whatever people, if somebody's doing them and they want to focus on voter recruitment, they should send an invitation.
Yeah, because we definitely will be happy to assist.
Maybe they're watching this YouTube, you know?
Okay. All right, so like I said, new business, we have the King County Fair coming up, July 16th to the 19th. And I think the last time we discussed this, we all agreed to just attend on a Friday and a Saturday. Is that correct? You remember?
Yeah, I have to work
Okay,
otherwise.
so we're gonna need coverage for, the 18th and the 19th, which is a Friday and a Saturday. So I guess we're gonna do it like we did before. We had somebody to cover, 4 hours, the first 4 hours, and then somebody else to cover the last 4 hours. So I know you guys probably are not sure if you can make it as of now, but just let me know so we can go ahead and, put you in the spots so we can have those events covered.
I'm out of town. I know I'm out of state.
I can't do it without you.
Oh, I have been there in previous years.
No, I know. I'll be available on Fridays and Saturdays.
Friday.
Well, Friday after 5. Let's put
Okay,
that on.
okay.
I might have to work. So I can be there anytime after 2, but if you need me to take off, I
On
can,
Friday and Saturday?
either one. You
Okay.
can let me know and I can take off.
Okay, I'll do Friday and Saturday morning. You want to do the morning? Okay. And then I'll talk to Scott and see what Scott want to do.
So I gotta take off what, the 12th, the 16th, and the 19th.
No, it's gonna be the 18th and the 19th. It's gonna be Friday and Saturday. You can come in, after 2 if you would like. It's totally up to you.
If I'm working.
Yeah, okay. All right, just keep me informed.
If I'm not working, but like I can take off early, like put my request in now to take off. That way I don't have to worry about it, go in the morning with Miss Murray.
Okay, well, just keep me informed.
Okay.
Next we have Legacy Day. Legacy Day is gonna be held on the 16th, so we definitely gonna need coverage for that as well. So you can either let me know now, or you can just let me know at a later date if you know who can attend on Legacy Day.
What day of the week is August 16th? Is that the weekend?
Let me look.
I think I might took that off already.
If it's a weekend, I'm fine.
Let me see, Paul.
Okay.
I'm not really sure what day it is.
And last year I was there at the end and I was surprised when we went to break it down. My little car wouldn't fit all the stuff that I was expected to take away from downtown Chestertown. I had to call for reinforcement. There was 2 chairs like the ones we're sitting in, a pop-up tent,
Oh, yeah, it
a
was our pop-up
sign,
tent. Yeah.
the tote. I expected maybe the tote.
Was
but-
you there by yourself?
Well, Paul
I
walked.
was there.
Oh, you walked. Okay, you walked. Okay. Okay, it is on a Saturday.
It's around the corner.
Yeah.
It's on a Saturday. Yeah. So you can let me know, who will be able to attend.
I'm available.
And just a reminder, those that have not taken the Open Meeting Act training, make sure you take the training and submit your certificate, because I'm definitely gonna need your certificate when you complete that training. And I have yours, Paul,
Yeah, mine.
Barbara's, Lisa's. I'm just waiting for Miss Mary's and Scott's. And I'll go ahead and send the link out to you, via email. Okay, now we're gonna have Paul. He's gonna discuss the acknowledgement and announcements of the Open Meeting Act violations.
I am. Okay, let's see.
And I think you just had to summarize it, right, Chip?
Right, so just to remind the board, I think you all have seen my advice on this, so, when there is an opinion of a violation of the Open Meetings Act rendered, regarding the local board elections, and they say there's an acknowledgement and announcement, a requirement. What that means is that your next meeting, after these are rendered, at your next meeting, you're to acknowledge receipt of it, and by acknowledgement, a majority of you will sign a copy of the opinion And then you're also to announce it, and by announce it, you're supposed to summarize what the opinion says, like what was the violation. And I think that's what Paul's going to do. Now, you can also just read the whole opinion, but some are kind of long and they get full of sort of mumbo, like just a lot of language, but they do conclude with what the violation was. So Paul's going to do that. It is supposed to be done by a board member. So this is the acknowledgement and announcement requirement.
It's the document in there, those documents, the complaints are right there.
Am I reading?
Yep. Those are the ones.
Do we need to read them?
No, you don't have to read them. They just have to be summarized. And the first one is the one compliance board opinion 120, right?
Yeah, 120.
Right. Even if you go to the conclusion, Paul, if you want, on the third page,
Well,
or you may summarize it otherwise. Do you have a copy of the opinion?
I have a copy of the opinion. 1, 2,
3. And I do believe everybody has a copy of the opinion. You should have a copy of the opinion that's 19 official opinions of the Compliance Board 120, issued May 13th, 2025. Okay? And I think there's even available for the public. Okay. So go ahead, Paul, you can summarize it.
Well, basically, the conclusion probably pretty much covers the fact that it says, we find no violation of the act with respect to notice that the Board of Elections would not meet on January 2025. But we find that the board did violate number 3-302 with regard to its February 2025 meeting by not updating the meeting notice to reflect the new meeting date. We find no violations with respect to posting agendas and minutes online or retaining meeting documents.
That's a fair summary.
Yeah.
I would just add, there were a number of violations alleged in this particular complaint. But the only violation that was found for this opinion was with respect to the February 25 meeting. And if you all remember, it was kind of what happened with that meeting. It was originally scheduled for February 6th. It was canceled or postponed due to weather, inclement weather. It happened, I think, on the 13th or the 12th of February. The date on the top of the agenda wasn't changed, so may or may not have caused some confusion. And that really was the violation. So it was, and so you acknowledge that. Okay.
The next one is the May 16th, 2025, Kent County Board of Elections. It's number 19, official opinions of the Compliance Board 131. And
again, everybody should have a copy of that one as well, right? Okay.
The complaint alleges that the Board of Elections violated the act by not posting minutes online for a meeting that took place on February, March, June, and October of 2024. The board responds that, quote, meeting minutes are routinely posted on the board's website, end of quote, by, quote, a third-party webmaster, end of quote. But the board acknowledges that the 4 sets of minutes flagged by the complainant may, quote, may not have been uploaded to the website, end of quote, due to an oversight. When asked to elaborate, counsel for the board said that the board staff had submitted the October and June minutes to the webmaster for posting, but did not submit the February and March minutes. And they're saying that regardless of whether a public body violates the act when a third-party webmaster fails to post minutes online, they conclude that the Board of Elections violated the act with respect to the February and March 2024 minutes. Excuse me. The board acknowledges that its staff did not even submit these to the webmaster for posting. We note that the board's website includes minutes of an April 2024 meeting. Thus, when the website was updated to include the April meeting minutes, it must have been practicable practicable to that time to also post the minutes of the February and March meeting. We find that the failure to do so violated number 3-306, parentheses E, and the parentheses, and parentheses 2, and the parentheses. The opinion is subject to the knowledge and announcement requirements.
Very good. If I could just add a comment about this, so this really relates to the posting of meeting minutes online.
Correct.
Now, what the law says is you should post your meeting minutes to the extent it's practicable. So technically, nobody has to post meeting minutes, but the reality is everybody has a website. So this board has a website and you do post meeting minutes. So once you do that, if you miss a set of meeting minutes, you're not going to be able to say, hey, we don't have to post them. Because once you do it, you've already shown it's practical. So this was really a glitch, a problem that somebody, when they were posting all these minutes, somebody missed two. It's really that simple. So yes, violation. Going forward, there is the State Board of Elections, as I understand it, is about to go live with a repository or a clearinghouse where all local boards of elections will be uploading meeting minutes, agenda, and all that. So everybody, citizens, can go to one place and get to their local board with all these documents. So it won't be everybody retaining their own with respect to these documents that are most often requested or of interest. So that's going to be going forward. I will also say this, because most of these violations, and there's a couple other pending complaints I'll mention, the live streaming of this meeting and saving these recordings will also prevent a lot of confusion and maybe grievances about conduct like this, because you don't have that meeting minutes once you have an archive of recordings. So this will change a lot of these practices too. So
Thank you so much.
can I mention some of the other complaints we're dealing with, just as on this subject? The board should be aware, and I think you are. There is we just filed a response to a complaint is interesting. It's a complaint about posting Board of Canvassers meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Now, when you all are the Kent County Board of Elections, you are also the Kent County Board of Canvassers.
Correct.
It's actually two separate bodies. Now, over the years, you sort of meet and you're always, you put on one hat, you do the other. The canvass is when you're counting ballots. Yeah. And it's not really one meeting. You actually do the Board of Canvassers over a long period of time. It's really an administrative function. It's not really a meeting, but be that as it may, there was a complaint filed actually with a number of the boards of elections in the state saying, hey, none of you are posting your canvass meeting minutes. The responses all were due the last few days. And most of the local boards of elections, I think, responded with basically saying, look, we're not required. We, the local boards of election, are not required to post Board of Canvasser meeting minutes. Now, it's sort of like splitting hairs because you're both. But technically speaking, all these boards of elections are receiving these complaints about where the minutes are. And so we're responding to that complaint. Our response was, like a lot of local boards of elections, we're not required to do that, but we don't object to doing it. If it's as simple as uploading them to the State Board of Elections site when they're complete, you're of course going to do that. So I just wanted to mention that's one we just responded to. So we'll see what happens with that.
Chip, what format would those minutes be in? Because we come in, we sit down, we open the various ballots, and then when we're finished, we total them.
Well,
how do you put that into words?
During your meetings, you actually approve the minutes.
Okay.
As the Board of Canvass, but they're really pro forma minutes, I want to say, because they're standard. Everybody's canvasser minutes are the same because they talk about ballots. Yeah. It's a tabulation of everything you did about excluded ballots, right? All of that.
Yeah.
So it's really over a period of time, you actually approve your Board of Canvasser minutes for that election.
Okay.
So those minutes are actually a set of minutes that go to the State Board of Elections. And I think eventually they'll just be up on your website.
But there is a format, right?
Yes, and you're doing it.
Okay.
And I think going forward, this has gotten a lot of local boards of elections looking at how they do their business. when you do the Board of Canvasser business, you'll sit as the Board of Canvassers. So you'll say, I'm now the chairman of the Board of Canvassers. And let's approve our minutes for the last election, basically, right? I think you'll get that advice from the State Board of Elections.
Exactly, yeah.
Yep. So I wanted to mention that.
Thank you. We're all learning.
There's two more. I'll tell you, we've been busy on these. We're dealing with a complaint, an Open Meetings Act complaint that we're going to prepare the response to. And this has to do with, if you remember, we had a special meeting.
Yes.
And there was a discussion before that meeting started about, hey, aren't we supposed to talk about the Opens Meeting Act violations? Because the law says when there's a violation opinion issued, you're supposed to acknowledge it at your next meeting. And we talked about that and said, and I gave the advice that said, look, we're having a special meeting for a very specific issue. I think you can defer acknowledging this opinion at your next meeting, which is this meeting. So that's where we are today. So we're doing it. We did get a complaint about that we didn't acknowledge these. What the complainant didn't know, it's interesting. He complained that we didn't acknowledge one opinion. There were actually two opinions, as we just acknowledged. There were two. And I hadn't had a chance to even make sure the board knew about the opinions, had a chance to read them. So if you remember, when we had that special meeting, it was just, didn't feel like the time to go, hey, let's talk about the two violations and go through them. Like we were just able to do in a pretty organized way, I think. But nonetheless, we got a complaint about that and we're responding to that. And then we do have another complaint, that's an Open Meetings Act complaint. And then the same complainant, that individual also wrote a letter to the State Board of Elections complaining about the special meeting that was held due to the amount of notice that was given pursuant to your bylaws. And first of all, this is a complaint to the State Board of Elections. This isn't an Open Meetings Act complaint. So it's a different kind of thing. I have to figure out sort of how we need to respond. They have asked us to comment. I'll just say this, your bylaws have a provision that say you can have your special meeting, but you can't have a special meeting where you're going to take a vote unless you give 72 hours notice. Take a vote. When we had this meet, and the other thing is, your bylaws also say you're going to comply with the Open Meetings Act. And the Open Meetings Act says you can meet anytime you want, as long as you give reasonable notice. That's what the Open Meetings Act says. Now, your bylaws say something even more stringent when it comes to a special meeting and a vote. When you had the special meeting, this came up. The complainant actually brought this up. Hey, you can't have this meeting. You didn't give enough notice per your own bylaws. I think we discussed, I'm pretty sure we said, well, it says if you're going to vote. And we didn't know if there was going to be a vote. And there wasn't a vote out of the closed session. Now, there was a vote. This is an interesting technicality. You had to take a vote to go into the closed session. So yes, you had a special meeting and you took a procedural vote to go into a closed session. Interestingly enough, somebody said, no, that's a violation because your bylaws say you can't take a vote. So we're going to answer and say, this is how we interpret that. And we'll see what they say. But it's an interesting complaint over a really a kind of a technical thing. The key thing about notice is, did people really know about the meeting? Is there anybody out there that really said, oh my God, I didn't know you were meeting? Like a few days later, they're like, I didn't know they met. Here you have everybody's here, they're in the room, and they're still, you're still being like, yeah, but you didn't give enough notice. But enough notice for the complainant to be here. So that's sort of just a fact. Are there other people that really didn't know?
How do we communicate meetings though? You emails?
No,
to
they're
chairs
posted.
Of the two parties, and then the League of Women Voters, I would assume.
No, what I do is I just go ahead and put it on our website. So it's on our website and it's on our door, and I send the information to the board members. If anybody else want to participate, they have to review our website. I don't send out letters to anybody else. Now, like, for instance, we have some chief judges that said, hey, Shamandi, can you send me an email reminding me of the meeting? We did that because they came to the lessons learned.
And the regular meeting of the Kent County Board of Elections is the first Thursday
Of every month.
of every month.
Yep.
Unless otherwise not. But that's where people can work around that too, is public notice.
Yeah.
Going forward, if I have a suggestion that would require a motion, is this the time I could do that
You can make a motion at any time, really.
for an
Yeah,
action to take a
you have
vote?
to have discussion of that motion though.
So this has come up before, and I have looked in other counties utilize social media for, say, this inclement weather. There's fog on the first Thursday of the month. So for us to get notice out quickly and not, webmaster a third party that takes time, could we potentially utilize a social media? I'd like to put a motion forward, if I could get a second, to discuss Kent County Boards of Election using a social media example, Facebook, there may be Twitter. I'm learning this too, but for communication with the public that
Okay.
we're gonna follow us.
You're not concerned with the members, you're talking about the public.
Well, the public can
Well,
also
if
view our
we could get our
website.
mission statement too, that might be another.
Is there a second to the motion?
Wait a minute, I got something to say.
You want a second to the motion to
Can
discuss?
we have the motion clarified, please?
Could we consider social media to
Okay.
communicate our board convenings?
Social media being
I mentioned
Which
Facebook
one?
as an example.
Facebook.
Well, we can
Yeah,
discuss it.
There are
I'm not
several, that's
picking.
why.
I'm throwing this out there
Yeah.
as going forward
Yeah.
compliance.
I do email everybody when we're gonna have a meeting.
She's talking about the public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who's gonna take care of this, Facebook page?
In the discussion part, are we the discussion yet or not?
Yeah,
I hadn't even got a second
Yeah,
yet. I'm
okay.
pleading for a second to even discuss it.
All right. Well, we can discuss it. I'll second it.
Thank you.
For your possibility of having a discussion. I guess there's so many different avenues for communicating with people in social media at this point. I don't know whether picking one is gonna eliminate other people in another social media. How do we define which one's gonna be the most effective?
We have 23 other examples. If we look, like we just got back from Mayo. And in networking, I know this is how we learned about this Al here that's helping. And then when you asked your question about who would do it, we're looking at staffing this office with more people,
Yeah, I'm looking at staff in
an
the office,
IT person.
but, I think
We can ask
what
how
we're
the
gonna
others
do
do
is
it.
we're gonna look to see how this, new, State Board of Elections, I guess to upgrade to the website.
Yeah.
So we're gonna look into that first
Yeah.
to see how that works out. And like I said, people can actually go there. Anybody from the public can actually go there and they can see, because then I can change anything, I can put a document in there at the drop of a dime. I won't have to go to a third party anymore. So that's available instead of using social media. So we can see how that works out, Barbara, and then we can, if that doesn't work out, then we can, the
Yeah,
next step can be
make
social media.
a modification.
but everybody don't have Facebook.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
that's what we're saying.
Maybe
There are
more
other
people than that,
options.
you have their emails and your contacts. There's a new party, there's,
But her job, she said she sends out emails to the board.
Yeah,
right.
Her job is not to email to the general public. That's
I'm
not her
explaining
function.
why I wanna cast
But
the net
I'll just
for
say, yeah, but let
voters
me
in
say
there.
this about social media. I would caution that you really study that seriously,
I agree.
because if you're gonna set up a social media, a very few percentage of people really rely on that for important information. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And so you have to really be very careful about who's responsible. I have other local government clients that have to deal with the comments that come onto their social media site that don't agree with what's posted. I'm just talking about posting a holiday. And that results in really comments that have to be policed by somebody in that government.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, maybe you don't put it up, then they have to decide we don't put it up. So it's a slippery slope, relying on quote unquote social media to put out important public information.
the reason I bring it up, Barbara, is my own personal side. I look at Facebook, but I'm thinking of cutting it off.
I got
Because
censored, I'm
there's
not on
just
it.
too much advertisements and that or all other parts that I don't really think I want to spend time reading.
Why would you promote a platform you're not on?
I'm thinking of our
Just
mission
because you wouldn't
statement.
even know how it's playing out.
Well, I see Jared Demarinis and others in the state, they're very quick to post what they're wearing on election day, and it can be interactive.
Where do they post it?
Definitely was seeing like YouTube, which is something we're doing now.
Yeah.
That's what we chose for streaming.
Yep.
Like Caroline County, if I want to go attend their meetings, I found it, I do use my husband's Facebook to
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
Barbara, let me ask you this. Would you be willing to give the new program that is being established a chance to get settled? And then we'll look at it and say, is there additional communication that needs to go to the public?
Of course.
Okay,
And two, it's what the majority wants. If I wanted to consider going forward, what we could do to address where we've had lags in posting.
yeah, but that hopefully will be taken care of when we get the government set up.
Can I jump in really quick? I have been doing this for a while now, and I have watched other boards in the state of Maryland have to filter, if they could, as best they could, certain things because it got really nasty on social media. And so when you think about that avenue, then you have to be willing to think about all, all of the apples in the barrel that's going to come with it. I too am like Paul. I kind of step away from that because number one of the advertisements that you don't want and some of the stuff that I personally may not agree with, that I have to kind of choke down because, that's
Part of it.
that's part of it. Exactly. So, we have to be willing to look at the pros and the cons of, of doing that. And like I said, and especially with this last go around the mulberry bush, it got really, really ugly. And so we have to be very, very careful that you don't offend, that you don't, possibly have somebody putting something out there, because once the cat's out of the bag, you can't put it back in. So you don't want people to be able to go on there and put things up there that are not true. Because we even had to police our church page for that very reason, because some foolishness got up there. And so we just need to, kind of.
There would be settings I'm envisioning where we would set the tone, like this is to be utilized for announcements of changes, unexpected things. But I don't think we need to use it for much more engagement.
But,
you could have it where folks can't comment.
she put everything on the website anyway. So why put everything on the website anyway?
We've come a long way, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't think we
in a
need
year's
another,
time.
We're walking before we're running.
yeah, I don't think we need another place to put
Thank
things
you
in
for
because,
discussing it as a possibility.
It's a good suggestion. There's no doubt
I
about
heard
it.
it from
We
another
just,
board member.
I
that's
think
not here.
there's something going on right now that might substitute and meet our needs. So let's give that a chance to start.
All right, thank you so much for that. And the last thing on the agenda is going to be my evaluation. But before our evaluation, I think, Lisa, you have someone that wants to speak. And just to let anybody know, if you did not email us and let us know that you want to, participate in a conversation, you can also get it approved here by Lisa, our board president, and you have 3 minutes to state, anything that you may need to say.
So I'm on.
Miss Nancy,
Okay.
you're
You're
first.
on.
Thank you. Thank you very much for letting me speak. I am Nancy Connor. I am a child of God. And in the Bible, it says that when you see things that are being done wrong, that you have to stand up. And sometimes I think that's what's happened to our country. We haven't stood up enough. So I wanted to let you know, it's been a couple of weeks ago when I came here, I felt when I came through the room and was sitting for the meeting, I felt a very hostile, unwelcoming being here. And if looks could have killed, I would have been dead on the floor. However, I see a big difference now that we're being filmed. I see a big difference in the attitude. So hopefully that will take care of it. But I did want you to know that you know, we as Republicans don't have as many judges on the board. And I'm thinking that the attitude that I felt when I came into this room a few weeks ago, I'm thinking that that might be a big difference if you would be more susceptible of the Republicans on being judges. And I am working on getting more judges in here and going door to door and going down my list, and I have a few. And so I'm hoping that will take care of it. I do want to have, if I have more time, I do want to let you know, when the election, it was early election, there was one thing that happened to me, and I never said anything, and I should have. And when I went into do the election, I went up and I had read, you know, like all of us read things, that if you make a mark on the ballot, that it will be ejected. So anyhow, I did, and I didn't mean to. And so there was a woman standing there. She came over and she said something wrong. And I told her what had happened. And she said, oh, and she put this name in the front of my thing that I hand in. And so when I went up there, because I told the gentleman, I said, I marked my ballot and I didn't mean to, and I want to make sure that my vote counts. So when I went up there, he said, what's this name here? And I turned around and said, this one, and she was gone. I said, this was put into my ballot. So, you know, I was very suspicious of it, and I should have said something then, but I did want to bring that up. Things do happen. So we do have to have election judges in there from both parties. So I'm hoping that all of this helps, and I'm hoping this helps. And again, I feel very differently today. I think you conducted yourselves very well, but you hadn't the week that I was here. And I did not like that. And I didn't like that we have to feel like, you know, that, you know, you can't come in here, you can't see what's going on. So with that, I will take them out. Yes. Did you want to ask me a question?
No.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you for participating.
Okay, you have Mr. Gary, he wants to speak. Do you accept it, allow him to speak?
Yes.
I'm Miss Lisa.
Hi, how are you?
Well, thank you. How are you?
Uh,
Is it an open forum?
Yeah, for the 3-minute limit.
Oh, well, that's not. I'm Gary Fellows, and thank you for having the opportunity. I'm a chief judge. We had a wonderful training, and Nancy, I'm sorry that you had to experience that, because I've experienced just the opposite, and I guess I'm very privileged with that. And I think Miss Nancy will say the same thing on the other end, that we've never encumbered any of that. So we're grateful for that. But my point is, I noticed in the minutes earlier that somebody asked for the judges to get a pay raise. And I have been absolutely adamant about the amount of money that's paid to the people that are responsible for carrying the message from the general public to this office when the time's finished. Now, if I'm incorrect, you folks get $250 to be in here for about an hour and a half. But you expect me and a lot of other folks that go out and end up at 5:30 in the morning in a poll, and we're there till 8 o'clock at night until we close that blue box, and then we're responsible to get it down here by 9 o'clock. So that's 15 hours, and you want us to do that for $350. So we're responsible for everybody's little X and their vote, and you want to give us a $25 raise to make it $350. So break that down for an hour, and they're paying people at Dunkin' Donut $20 an hour, folks.
Yep.
Okay? And you want us to carry the public's message to you unencumbered for that stipend. I think it needs to be readdressed. It doesn't just come from here, it's got to come from higher up, but this is where it's got to start. Thank you.
Anyone else need to say something?
Yeah, I can, go ahead. I was gonna comment on Barry.
So my name is Dawn Wright, and I'm just gonna be brief. I do apologize if you experienced that, because I'm like Gary. I didn't feel that. I sat right beside you, and you kind of scared me one time because and I'm glad you're a woman. Thank you. I saw your hand go up and pray. I didn't know what was going on.
I was praying.
I realized that happened, but it scared me at first. But I've been attending every meeting, and yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say the discussions didn't get heated, but I've always felt welcome and to every meeting. I just want to make a comment about the social media. My thing is, if it's not broke, then no fixing. They have a web page. The people know to go to the web page. Put it on the web page. If you're gonna cancel a meeting or because of weather, it's on the web page. All you have to do is let the public know it's on the web page. Everything's on the web page, and get more activity going to the web page. So if it's not broke, you don't have to fix it. A concern that I have is, and I noticed about the complaints, and I correct me if I'm wrong, Shamania, the papers that was read, and you say the public could see that.
Mhm.
Did y'all have it out front?
Yeah, but we can give you a copy of it.
You didn't?
Mhm.
Well, there's some people in here that had,
Mhm.
and I'm just curious how some of y'all got it. That's
You mean these papers? These were out front.
no, about the complaints.
Well, the complaints will only sent to the board member.
Yeah, that's it's stuff that's being put out by, and it's got to be somebody on the board that everybody don't have. People have come to meetings with documents that nobody had, but certain people. That bothers me, because I'm sitting here trying to look for this paper that y'all are reading, and I'm like,
No, it's not a requirement for us we only have to put the agenda and the minutes out. But if you request it, we can always email it to you.
okay,
I
well,
can-
maybe they requested it. I don't know.
They didn't
I
request it.
just
Nobody requested from me.
Okay. It's just getting out there, and if that's getting out there, how much other information from the board?
I think I know what you were.
Wait, no.
Yes, I do.
And that concerns me, because that could be a violation of confidentiality of information getting out to people that don't need to hear it. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that up. That's a concern of mine. When I'm sitting up there looking for something, and I heard Shamania say that we could have access to it, and then I'm seeing,
Put on the website.
I don't think that was on the website that time.
No, it's not.
Could be.
It's
I
not.
don't think that was on the website.
It's not on the website.
Don't interrupt my statement. Go for it. So please, board, I'm asking if you can look into that and at least keep advising the people not to be giving documents out ahead of time that shouldn't be out there. It's not out front when they walk in. You know, we're obviously not supposed to have it. Okay.
I think I know what you're
Wait,
talking
wait,
about.
Wait a
You
minute.
should be recognized by the.
Oh, okay.
You should be recognized.
Is
by
there anybody else that
Are you finished?
Yeah.
If anybody else want to talk besides Miss Nancy
at this moment?
at this moment? Go ahead, Dawn.
Thank you. I think I just want to emphasize that this is a public body, okay, and is subject to the Open Meetings Act for that reason. You know, the public should have as much opportunity to understand what's going on at all times. And the only point I would make about the Facebook versus website is things have changed. Websites are useful, but the people have to go to it to see what's going on. Facebook has become popular because if you put something out on it, everybody potentially can see it. We've established one for the Republicans of Kent, and we set it up so that people could talk to us. It's just a following. And all we do is put information about what we're doing on it. So I'm real happy to see how this meeting was conducted today. And I'm especially happy that it's available now on the website. That's all I wanted to say. It's a public body, and that's why there's so much emphasis from the public, different parts of the public, to understand and hear what's going on.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.
Michelle, you know,
I'm going to start by saying, that I too am a woman of faith. I'm a minister. That is what I do. That's what I'm called to do. But more importantly, I don't like the implication that we would exclude people. Because when you step through those doors, if I can be quite honest, and if I can keep it, all the way real, my paycheck is gonna be the same. I don't look at you and say, well, oh, this person must be this or this person must be that. I actively recruit whomever. If you want to be a part of this process, and I tell people, that's the only way that you're going to rebuff some of the foolishness that you hear, is to become a part of the process. I am not going to exclude anyone because that's my job. I'm not going to exclude anyone from becoming a part of that process. I have given up weekends. I had given up things with my children and my grandchildren to make sure that people become a part of that process. So to say that we're not welcoming or that we're going to exclude, we tell people, you come in here, you don't have to just wait until a board meeting. If there's anything you want to know, anything you want to see, all you have to do is come in. But we get this, well, the public. Okay, who is the public? Who are these people that we're supposedly doing all of these awful things to? That's not my character. And I'm not going to be categorized as that. So when anybody comes through those doors, hey, how you doing? I don't care who you are.
Don't care who you are or what party.
What party you are, because I'm not filtering that. I don't know you from a can of paint. Honestly, that was the first time I had seen you when you came in here for all of maybe 3 minutes. So to say that when you came in, we were hostile towards you, I think that's very unfair. And if you felt that way, sorry. But from that door to in here, even to these chairs, every last one of them has been anointed.
Very good. I
I'll leave it
anoint
there.
myself before I came in.
Miss
Miss
Nancy.
Nancy.
Yes.
Wait a minute, Miss Nancy.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to say one thing. When we're out there, Gary and I, we don't go by parties. We go by people. In this country today, there's too many characterizing of people. Don't go by color, race, creed, or anything else. Don't go by Democrat, nonpartisan, or Republican, or anything else. These people are human people. We're all here to live together and not nitpick at each other. I think everybody does a wonderful job out there. I have no complaints with anything in this office whatsoever. I've always been treated fair and loving. And I think everybody on the board has. And anybody that has any complaints against what we do out there, they need to get out there and see it for themselves and stop complaining and running their mouth about something they don't know what they're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Nancy. Miss Nancy, wait a minute.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Let me say something.
Okay.
We're not gonna call nobody out for what your opinion. Just say, don't call nobody out.
Okay.
Go ahead, Wanda.
Good morning. I don't know if this is the appropriate place to please stop. But this is in reference to election days. But I don't hear anybody saying anything about that. Because what I had witnessed at this election was horrific. And, we have some people, one day your signs are too close when it's a particular party. Then the next day, those signs are moved and are right there in the doorway. But it's okay. And this is supposed to be these are supposed to be they are measured.
Yeah.
They were measured. Shamondia got someone come out there and they walked and everything was measured in this proper place. The next day, there was another party that was right there in your face. So the person that was there the day prior said, oh, it looks good to me. So if we're going to address these issues, then why not address them all? Not just nitpick at a certain thing or certain person, whatever. Let's address them all. Because this whole election thing has become, I want to be a Republican to win. I want the Democrats to win. It's always been, but it's too much. It's too much. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Nancy, go ahead.
Okay. I did want to address.
Don't
Well, you
call
did, I
nobody
can't,
out.
okay, I did want to address what was said about people having papers and all. I know that, and I can't say Sean Poulter, he has the rules and regulations. And that was what he was looking at when a certain person asked him about where did you get all of these papers and stuff? He has rules and regulations, and that's what he was doing. And she asked where he got it from, and he said he did get it from he had to do some research to get it. So that's where his papers came from.
Okay.
That he researched it and he got it off of the internet or whatever. I don't know where he researched, but that was why. That he had certain papers that everybody else didn't have. He had the rules and regulations of how things should be run, and that's what he was stating. And that's why they didn't have, I don't know why they didn't have it. They could have, he had it, so they could have researched and gotten it. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you.
Can I make some clarifying comments to some that were made? First of all, on Open Meetings Act violation opinions, and that is that these opinions, okay? Opinions that involve violations are posted on this Attorney General's website. What I don't know is how quickly they're posted. I don't know whether they wait till the local board acknowledges them and then they're posted, or they're posted as soon. I haven't gone myself to look at, and somebody could. So the fact that anybody might have this, if it's already posted on the Maryland Attorney General's website, then it's available. I don't know yet. Otherwise, this wasn't made available to the board as it should have. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a public document. Now, the way documents like this, and I want to comment about all the documents like for this meeting, like this is all good information, probably good to be available to the public, right? And I don't know, there other local governing bodies with they always post their agenda in advance and this and that. Others have started to post the documents related to items related to their agenda in advance if they have them. And if you look at a lot of the documents you have, these could have just as easily been available with your agenda. Mm-hmm. Or people will say, hey, can I get a copy of this you're referring to? Can I get a So be thinking about that as a lot of things are being streamlined for the benefit of the public that's paying attention. The agenda is great, but then the next level of request is going to be, hey, what about all the documents you're referring to?
Well, the documents are there. There's going to be a mailbox for the documents on.
So that's great. So this thing you're going to be able to do, you not only upload the agenda, but most of these documents, if they're public, and you always want to make sure, are these public documents or not? So I just wanted to mention that to everybody for the board's benefit. The other thing about pay for judges, just so everybody's clear about how this world works. This is a quasi-state agency, this local board of elections, that is funded by the county government. So ultimately, any budget fiscal impact decision this board makes, like supporting pay increase, and I've been to a number of meetings where this topic comes up regularly about we should be paying judges more. It is ultimately a request to the Kent County Commissioners. Mm-hmm. And everybody needs to know that. So if this board decides as a board, let's make this request to the county commissioners, they would hope people are there to say, this is a good idea. And why? Because you just articulated it, others so well. This whole system has sort of gotten out of weird about what is actually being done the day of elections compared to decisions made in a macro sense. And this hand-wringing about election judges and what parties they're in, it's just people. It's serious people, frankly, volunteering to be part of the election process and getting a stipend for their time.
Yes.
That's kind of, and it's amazing that it still works when you really are asking people to do so much for so little, but it's part of a bigger thing. But just remember, it ultimately, any budget thing they want to do relies on the county commissioners.
Thanks. And Chip, sorry.
Are you ready, Chip?
Yes, I am.
What really fired the majority of us up was the simple fact that the new greeter that sits at the front door and gets $30 an hour to read a book and say, hi, go that way. That's it.
because she worked for a temp agency.
Miss Lisa, my point is the message.
Yeah.
If they're willing, somebody's willing to pay that person,
Yeah.
gender unrequired, $30 an hour to sit there and read a book while nothing's going on and say, oh, welcome that way. And you're expecting us to take all that responsibility for that stipend? Sorry, it's out of work. I wish it would.
No, and I do agree, and we have,
Stress
I mean,
this.
yes, stressed this on more than one occasion. And it's come to the point that I'm sure this is dyed hair. Otherwise, it would be as white as a sheet.
Welcome to
And it's like, it's so nerve wracking because I'm like, you're asking people not only to, give them their time, and they certainly aren't doing it to get rich. You know, you gotta be serious about this to even want to be there for that length of time. You know, to have to kind of eat on the fly or whatever and go through whatever all day. So it's not that we're not advocating for that, but then when we encounter a wall that says, this is it, you know, and it's frustrating. And that's also a point with recruiting. Now, in this thing of us making sure that we have the proper amount of judges, we even introduced more training, which had to be squeezed into a budget, which means you had to, see what availability the trainers had, because they certainly don't come for free. See what availability they had to get these people in, for them to come back, not even a day later, and say, oh, not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Can't do it. Or even wait until election morning, and then I'm running down a list trying to fill those spots. Miss Karen was so helpful on that, because she answered me at the drop of a dime, was like, well, hey, I had kind of had this plan, but I'll be there.
Miss Nancy
And
and
Miss
Mr. Garrett.
Nancy and Mr. Garrett. And he was like, well, okay, I'm there. And so these are the type of people that we have that do these elections. They're serious about it. They don't come to play or there because it's like, oh, well, I'm just here to cause chaos or disruption. They're serious about what they're doing. So I do give them props, because sometimes I'm calling you before 6 o'clock in the morning, asking you, can you be somewhere in 30 minutes, And so, I'm thankful for the people that we do have. Could we have others? Are we trying to engage more young people? Of course. Like I said, I'm very excited about the young man that's running for Republican Central Committee, because we know that, young people beget other young people. And so I'm just like, so don't think that, because by all means, I certainly ain't turning nobody away. I'm asking for the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. So we are definitely recruiting. But then if you come and you get those applications from me, don't just get them and hold them. I had somebody bring them all back to me, the same amount that I gave them. Folded up, no less. Rolled up and in a rubber band. But, actually put them out there. You all are having these events. You had, because you got some for me, Miss Dawn, and you said, hey, we're having this event. Don't just toss them into the bags, those giveaway bags. Set up a little table, and have them fill them out there. Like, don't trust people to bring them back, because they'll tell you they'll bring them back and we never see them. So, if you could, help us to make this happen, because we sit at these events all day, and I had people come and take my pens, but didn't want to hear anything past that, so.
And to piggyback off Michelle, we send out election judge applications to every Republican household in Kent County. And the applications that we receive back, a lot of the election judges say they were not interested. Now, when anybody come in this office, I greet you with a smile every time. So they can't come in here and say that we're rude, that we're not welcoming, because we definitely are. And like Michelle said, she doesn't care about your party. She doesn't care about we don't care about anything. We need the judges. We're going to recruit the judges. We're not turning anybody away, even if we have to put them in a standby election judge, option. So we can have enough standbys to call if people call out. We don't turn, so whoever spreading this rumor about we turning Republicans away, not true. We just not having enough Republicans to come in here and apply. So like Michelle said, if you have family members, give them applications, and what we're doing now is because so many people are spreading false information about, okay, we took our application in, we never were called. So what we're doing, we're creating a spreadsheet. So if don't bring an application in, we're going to put down, we have the spreadsheet with your information and the person's information that whoever you dropped off the application for. But we're creating a spreadsheet because it's not fair to us for people to go out here and make the public look like we're not doing our job. We don't refuse anybody. And the one person that asked to be a chief judge, we did not have a chief judge position available at the time. We are not going to get rid of our chief judges just to fill somebody in because they want to be a chief judge for that election. And like I explained before, if you work the primary election as a judge, it's mandatory that you work the general election. So if you come in on the end of the general election and you say, hey, Shamandia, I want to be a chief judge, it doesn't work like that. What happens is what I do, like for instance, if we have a chief judge from 7-1, it could be a Democrat or Republican. If they decide, hey, you know what, this is my last election year, I'm going to go ahead and retire. I'm going to recruit within the polling place first before I go outside. And I match it with the same party. So if a Republican election chief judge decide to retire, I ask within the polling place, the people that have been working together for years, to see who want to step up. If they don't want to step up, then we go ahead and recruit outside, of that polling place. But I'm just not going to take my loyal and dedicated chief judges and knock them out of the way just because somebody wants to come in as a chief judge. Now, what I will do is I will go ahead and put you in another position or put you in a standby position. If you choose not to take that position, there's nothing I can do about that.
Mr. Gary had his hand up first.
My question is that since you're on the topic, and first and foremost, the old concept is my targeting of funding pay is certainly not at the.
We know that.
The oil or the squeaky oil or squeaky wheel gets the oil. So I'm telling the board that you got to take it from here to them because we're tired of listening to it. Okay. Yeah. But number two, those folks that want to say, oh, well, that election, I want to be a chief judge. Do they have any clue what the responsibility of a chief judge is? And all the paperwork and all the signatures and do they have any clue what's required for that?
No.
I'm sure they don't, because that's why I'm adamant about, we don't get compensated enough. Mm-hmm. You put the entire election on our shoulders to make sure it's correct when it comes in this door. Because I'm telling you, if it's not, they're not calling all you folks working out there. They're calling us because you didn't do your job. So all that other crap comes down on Nancy and me and Sam and you ladies that are sitting there and are responsible. You folks don't get a good grasp of what the responsibility level is for what you're paying somebody that works at McDonald's. Mm-hmm. Period. Mm-hmm. It's just that plain and simple. And I'm not diminishing their working. Thank God they're working. Right. But the bottom line is there's a high level of responsibility when folks take their public, their given blessing to be able to come in and put that check in that box and express their opinion. It's our duty to bring that message in here correctly, legally, as the law requires. It's easy. It's easy, but it's got a lot of dots or T's to cross and I's to dot to get it here. So just because you want to be a chief judge, you better read what's required before you sign up for that deal.
We even had some of our chief judges take provisional training. And I commend you all for that because that within itself is a whole nother beast. Mm-hmm. And so for my chief judges to say, hey, I want to be able to help my provisional, or at least, kind of know what I'm talking about. They came in and sat in on that training. And I was like, kudos to you, because if I didn't have to teach it, I wouldn't want to. Okay?
And I don't require I don't remember getting a paycheck for that.
No, you did not. You did not.
Did you get checked?
Wait a minute.
Sorry, I just want to add to what Gary's promoting, and I back him up 100% because we as board members have talked about these pays and we feel they're inadequate, obviously, but the key there is the county commissioners, and we are working with the county commissioners to try and make them aware of what you're saying your job entails. I don't think they have a good feeling for understanding how much time and effort and training is put into it.
I'll be more than glad to share the message
I'm with you, Gary.
without question.
Are you finished, Paul?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes, what I want, you were saying that you keep the judges, your tried and true judges. But when, like, if they're all Democrat and a Republican comes in, you're gonna refuse him and keep
No.
your Democrat.
What I'm
Okay,
saying-
that's what I wanted
No,
to get on.
let me explain to you. If they work the primary, it's mandatory that they work the general. So in the primary, the gentleman didn't sign up to be a chief judge. But in the general election, he signed up to be a chief judge.
On the last
On,
day.
yeah, and the thing about it, like I explained to him, if you work the primary, it's mandatory for you to work the general. Now, for the next election, hey, the state, and the state said before, it doesn't have to be Democrat and Republican. As long as there's Republicans working in that polling location, chief judges didn't have to be opposite parties. They could be the same party.
So people that are coming in, like I have 5 that have said that they would sign up to do it. So they won't be able to do it in this next election.
They will be able to work if we have positions
If
available.
you have,
Mhm.
okay.
And 9 times out of 10, we will have positions available, and I can't guarantee them what positions will be available. Because it depends on,
As judges.
as election judges, because it depends on.
And that's where we're going down in is the Republicans.
Well, the
Don't
Republicans,
have enough.
the Republicans
Okay.
always,
One at a time,
the
Paul,
Republicans always been down. So, and that's the state of Maryland. So it's not just Kent County.
No.
We have never had enough Republicans. And like I said, I sent out recruitment letters to every household. I did it in 2020. Was it 20? Yeah, 2022. And we'll do it again in 2026. So we send them out. If they don't send them back, there's nothing we can do.
Mhm.
And if they send them back and say, hey, no, we're not
I'll
interested,
get their application.
we're sending them to every Republican household. And like Michelle said, you have family members. Get your family members involved. Get your friends involved.
I just.
Wait
wanna-
a minute, wait a minute,
Oh, I'm
wait a minute. Wait a minute, Nancy.
Yes, I would make a suggestion that we call the county commissioners, have them come in for training on all this equipment,
No,
what we do.
Have them work.
Show them what we do as judges out there and all the paperwork, the machine, and let them see what they want to do.
I just wanted to add a note to Nancy, and I think this is very telling. No,
Me
you,
or-
yes. you,
Nancy
Nancy
Connor.
Connor. This is very telling. I mean, for me, this was quite educational because I think this has changed immensely over the years, where Kent County forever has been a hugely 3/4 Democratic county.
Yes.
That's changed. And the only real difference that hasn't changed is the Republican folks'
I'm working on
unwillingness to step up to the plate to do the things that Shimani's saying.
Yeah.
So you're advocating, it's simple, you're advocating that more Republicans take a position and stand up
Yes.
and be counted.
I have been. I'm making them feel
Well,
good.
but the bottom line
And
is,
anyhow, I have 5
I, for one,
and I'm
Miss
still
Nancy, Miss
calling.
Nancy.
never
Let's
saw.
one at a time, please.
Yeah, so I think this is very educational. I'm really glad you put this out there because I had no clue that the parity. Now, of course, there's a great number of undecided or
Unaffiliated.
unaffiliated, exactly. But the
Yes.
simple fact
Oh,
is
yes,
that
I have.
this has changed the demographic of the look
the
of
look.
Kent County,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
needs to be acknowledged, which I think is great. So you're, as Republican Central Committee or whatever your position is, as you're sitting here, you're absolutely right. It's your job to say, hey, folks,
I have
we
been.
need to step up to the plate. You know, it's
I've
not
been
as if
calling.
they're saying you guys didn't want to show to the party, so we took the people that were willing and filled the bill.
Exactly, because guess what? The elections still have to go
Yeah.
on. Even if we had 90% Democrats, the election still must go on. We can't stop the election because we don't have enough Republicans. And like I've told everybody before, this office is open to everybody. So if you have a question, give us a call. Stop by. We're willing to help anybody. We don't care about any, demographic. We're willing to help anybody that have questions. So just give us a call. Do not feel like you have to come in here and it's going to be an attitude because that's not the case. So Ms. Nancy, if you want to call up here, hey, I can give you my card. You can give me a call anytime. You can email me. Dawn has done it plenty of times, hundreds and thousands of times. So, just, and then like I had I had Eric in here and I took him around and showed him how we did the process and he was satisfied. And I don't have anything to hide. So, if you have any questions, feel free just to give me a call or stop by the office or make an appointment.
Wait a minute. Are you finished?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to highlight one thing about recruitment. Make sure you let them know there is training involved.
Yes.
And one of the biggest problems is they don't show up for the training.
Amen.
That is the biggest problem. They put their names and people bring in some, but when training comes, they don't show up. And if they don't show up, what can you do? So they got there's training involved.
And speaking about training, we also have trainers, and when they train you, they observe to make sure that you're able to complete that job duty. If you can't complete that job duty, they're going to let us know. Now, these trainers don't have anything to do with the election office. They are recruited by the state. So they'll come to me and say, hey, Shamani, this person is not going to make it as a chief judge. This person is not going to make it as a unit judge. Maybe you should put them here, or maybe you should put them there. Now, if you're not going to be able to make it as any judge, then we're not going to have you work an election day. So somebody say, hey, they refuse this. It's because the trainers came back and say they're not, and what we do, Michelle and I, we have one-on-one. And like Dawn, one of your friends had issues with the poll book. We had her come in 3 times and did a one-on-one training with her. So we have no problem doing one-on-one trainings. We try our hardest to get the person to where they need to be, and I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what else we can do, because they actually go through the training with the trainer twice, and then we'll have them coming here by themselves. They're allowed to get on the poll books. They're allowed to pull up certain scenarios. They always call us back here for questions. We have no problems answering questions. So it's like, what else can we do? I mean, we do everything that we possibly can do to get these people trained and understand how to run the equipment.
And then when they sign
Wait a
up,
minute, Michelle.
oh, sorry.
Dawn.
First of all, I want to commend everybody here, and especially you, Barbara, for the way you've conducted this.
My name is Lisa.
I'm sorry. She'll tell you, I get names wrong all the time, even when I know them well. I'm sorry, Lisa. But this was dramatically better than the last meeting, and I hope that it continues. I think it was very productive in a lot of ways. And I think in follow-up to Dawn's comment, we are standing on an opportunity to change the attitude that's out there.
Amen.
It's in the air.
But because people are from that comes here is putting it in the air.
One step, and I appreciate what you just shared about a worksheet of people as they sign up, who brought them in. And that's what I was trying to get to at the last meeting. What would be helpful to anybody who's trying to recruit people is if there was a progression of the steps, access to that information for each person, so that we can say, hey, how come you didn't show up when you were supposed to? Or just to encourage them to make sure they understand the job. We have to know where we are. And if that could also incorporate at any moment in time, how many Dems and Republicans are in the pot, that helps us also to say, hey, we got to find 10 more Republicans. Can you be one of them? Okay.
Well, don't I always announce at board meetings how many Republicans and Democrats. No, I always announce way before then. I start announcing like 6 months before. Now the thing about it is, this is what I suggested the last time. Okay, if you have a packet of election judge applications and you gave them to Eric and Karen and Jackie, then you should keep track of who you gave these applications to. And you should contact us and say, hey, Shamadia, did such and such return that application? Michelle can look on her spreadsheet and she can say, no, we have not received the application back from this person. Then you should be able to reach out to that person and say, hey, do you want me to pick it up? Do you want to send it in? But we're going to be so busy in this office, we're not going to be able to send out information to people as far as like on worksheets. So it's your responsibility. I'm putting the responsibility back on you. So if you go out there and recruit these people, then you get in contact with them and say, hey, did you take your application back? If they say, yeah, give us a call. Okay. Oh, we haven't received it. So, and then you can get in contact with them.
I'm advocating more of a partnership exercise. Because when it's important to know how many Dems and how many Republicans are, signed up, how many more do we need and what moment in time? And I don't really want to push this any further in this meeting. I also want to, ask though, when will this new website be available?
Well,
What are they saying?
we just got an invite yesterday. So hopefully it'll be available, sometime this month.
Oh, really?
I can't give you exact
The
date because,
state's gonna have this new thing
Yeah.
that fast.
well, you know what, I think what happened when all the complaints were going out, they were working on trying to, build something for the local boards of elections, because these complaints are time consuming and people don't realize it's killing our budget. It's killing our budget.
Yeah, I'm sure. But it's good to see all of this moving in the right direction.
Yeah, it is.
Amen.
And another thing, it's a learning experience because when you're hired on by the state board, you don't have election director training. You're just stuck in this office. You're just putting this office. You don't have any training. So to me, even though we did receive complaints, it's a learning experience. So we're getting educated. Thank God Chip is here to help educate us as well. So,
Thank you.
Michelle.
And I'm grateful too for Chip to be able to break down the legalese, because like I said, this is definitely been a learning experience for me. But another thing is, and Ms. Dawn, and you correct me, but I know I'm speaking the truth because I keep emails and things of that nature. I will give you numbers on the fly. So anytime that you called and you were like, hey, I want to know how many of this versus this versus this, those numbers were made available to you. Now, I might tell you I have to get back to you because we got other things going on, but we definitely are not going to say, well, no, I can't give you that information.
Right. And
So that's in between time and in the meantime, in addition to, all of the craziness that's going on. You got 10 different fires that need to be put out and I would stop. Shimani say, hey, Dawn requested XYZ, let's get that together. And either she or I would make sure that you had that information. So, yeah, and it's not just you requesting it, don't get me wrong, but whenever you requested that information, we made sure that that information was available to you.
Ms. Murray, you gotta say something?
Yes, the last election that we had, and that was my first time on working on the board. A couple of people brought in 2 or 3 people from Africa to come in and go in on the floor. They told us that nobody can go in on the floor while people were voting. But this woman that I don't know who she was, she took the people in there after I told her that they could not go. And I really felt bad about it because I don't like to get upset because I'm a reverend and you have to try to keep yourself down, So I just let her go and I called up Shimani and told her that they brought the people in on the floor while they were voting, and I know it was told us that they could not do it.
it was also told to them in training that they couldn't do it. It's only supposed to be challenges or warranted, and you have to have an approved certificate. Yeah, so they weren't supposed to do that. And I have spoken to the chief judges and the unit judge that did that as well.
The only thing, and again, I'm sorry, I show up on one meeting and become a pain in the butt. I think the 2 things we're missing, and the folks were very adamant in their training that, we have a book and we follow the book and we're very regimented in what the book says. But I think we learned a lesson here this morning that number one, this is, I'm sorry folks, but this is small town America. And if we don't treat folks like small town America, the old adage is it takes a village to raise a child. Well, we're trying to raise a community and we all have to live in that community and we want to be happy in that environment.
Amen.
And I for one, I've been blessed to serve this entire county and several counties and thousands of families. And you first give from your heart, because if you don't give from your heart. So I have the terrible habit of when you come in the doors, how you been? Good to see you again, and I'm so personal. Instead of going, you go from here to point A to point B to point C to point D. Right. Karen is an advocate that'll tell you, I talk to everybody, and I'm sorry, Miss Lisa will say you're not supposed to do that, But that's small town America. That's welcoming. We're glad you're here. When we put that sticker on you that said I voted, that's huge. that is you just given the one thing that you have the right to do in this country, you've just taken advantage of. And we want to appreciate that, and we don't, it's just not you walking in the door because you feel like somebody took the time out of their day to come in there. So yeah, we're obligated to make sure they do it right, but we don't have to be knuckleheads going through the process. I'm hoping you agree, but.
Amen, amen.
Thank you, Minister.
Pardon?
Thank you, Minister.
I want to take your floor back.
Dawn, your turn.
Lisa, I did one quick follow-up to recommend that, something I observed, throughout the election, whenever a new voter voted for the first time, it was announced.
Oh, yeah.
And after they voted, and everybody in the place clapped.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thing.
And
I'm
she
seeing a
started
lot.
that. She started that.
It's good.
Yeah.
I see a lot of young people. I'm encountering a lot more young people interested in
Yes,
politics now than
yes.
ever before. So just keep doing it.
Amen,
I
amen.
just want to say that the chief judges just need to be aware of what's going on in their polling places.
Mhm.
Like somebody bring somebody in to look at different things in the polling place. Just be aware that they can't do that.
Certain things they can't do.
Certain
Yeah.
certain things they can do, certain things they can't do. But if you are a worker in the polling place, you can't bring nobody in to see what's going on in the polling place.
Then, again.
Go ahead,
I'm sorry. But couldn't we, on the run up to an election, the folks that are watchers, okay, each party should invite the watchers that are going to be assigned and the chief judges to say, okay, folks, here's the deal. There's an appropriate time,
Mhm.
there's an appropriate way, and if we follow those rules, nobody's going to get upset. Nobody's going to get excited. So when you come in the door, that first thing, when everything gets opened up, we get to take numbers, we get to look at the sheets, we get to do all that at the closing. But in the middle of the day, we just don't stroll through and, there are appropriate times to do those things. So do we need a little refresher course to get everybody together so we're all on the same page?
We do,
I'm just asking.
yeah, we do, we explain it every election. And we have had problems with, challenges and watchers. They take a training, so they are well aware that they are not supposed to be on the floor unless accompanied, by a chief judge. So, it's up to the chief judges have to put their foot down and tell them, look, we'll do it at this time, or, we're busy, we'll do it at this time. But challengers and watchers are not supposed to be roaming around free. They have a section where they sit in, and if they have a question, they must direct the question to the chief judge. And if the challengers and watchers don't want to listen to the rules and regulations, they will be asked to leave.
One behind you here.
Anyone?
Specifically at the library, there's so many different interests. When the challengers and the watchers are stopping people and wanting to chat, those that are trying to vote, it becomes a massive mess right there. And then you can't discern who is coming from where, who is trying to vote, or what. So please, with the challengers and watchers, just do the job and keep it flowing. I am one of those greeters. I set the scene out front. So that scene is already set. And I'm the one that screams and hollers, yay, congratulations. I'm that girl, So when I ask you, please.
I'm thinking, man, so much.
Please, because then we got these people behind me. And I got to deal with their attitudes.
Yeah.
So I sit out there and look pretty, but I also get a lot of attitude too.
We're glad you do.
So
Yeah, we're glad.
we need to keep them flowing.
Yeah.
We need to keep them flowing.
And when the challengers and watchers are there to observe. They're not supposed to be talking to the election judges or anybody from the public. They're there to observe, and that's it. So if you have any issues, Wanda, just get in contact with the chief judge, and the chief judge definitely will contact us.
You better tell them to send
Wait a
me
minute.
something.
All right, now, if we
Wait a
got the
minute, wait a
chief.
minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I felt so bad because this one lady, and so we need that, and I think for the different people that send these folks out. You need to make them aware of some things, because this one poor lady has sat there all day long and with nothing to eat or nothing to drink. And one of our guys was like, hey, can I get you some water? Can I get this? And she said that she was told that she had to stay there. So she was there from that morning all the way until they closed. And this was an elderly woman. And I'm talking about no food or anything. And I was like, you do realize that you can get something to eat. And one of our guys was like, hey, can I get you some water? Because she had been told that she had to stay there. And so I'm like, come on, that wasn't fair.
Who told you that?
But
You said don't call nobody out. But but I was like, this was I don't know if she was taking medications or anything. And I was like, anything could have happened to her. And so we were offering her things throughout the day, because I was like, oh my God, and nobody came to relieve her. It was a little bit better in the general, but in the primary, nobody came to relieve her, and she was just like stuck all day.
Go ahead, Warren. Michelle, you finished?
Yeah, I'm done.
When, you talked about the judges, now, when we're on the same party and we're old friends, and when I'm coming to someone to talk to the judge about an issue, but the issue is with a buddy, the issue doesn't get resolved because we buddies, and that's an issue. And like I said previously, be friends, but do the job.
Exactly.
Now, well,
Have a
Are
great
you going to hit
day.
wrong?
yeah, I got hit. Rob, yeah, let me shake your hand. All right.
But before we conclude this meeting, like I said, we're all here to work together. So, and we always been like that, my 24 years of working with the Board of Elections. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to give us a call. Stop in, make an appointment if you want to sit down and talk. I have no issues at all with that, but I don't want you to go out, think that we're turning Republicans away, because we have never done that. This office has always welcomed you with a smile and always has been willing to help anybody that came in here, regardless of what party you are. Does anybody else have anything that need to be discussed before we end up going into a closed meeting?
Will we be announcing if we're meeting in July before the public leaves?
Okay.
July.
It's should be on the, it's on
She
your,
hasn't gotten that far yet.
but it's on your,
But she was asking if you're gonna convene in a closed session, if there's anything you want to tell the public now, because they might not wait for when you come out of closed session.
Yeah.
So if you want to tell them, that's, I think what Barb was
Yeah.
asking, should we let people know, is there going to be a July meeting?
there will be a July meeting.
If there's business to be
If that's
discussed,
their business to discuss,
it'll be July 3rd.
it's July 3rd, 2025, if anyone want to attend.
So if the
Hopefully.
meeting is, so if the regular July meeting does not happen, there'll be notice on the website
Mhm.
sufficiently in advance.
And I will email all
The board.
board, and let you know whether or not there will be a meeting. Anything else anybody have to say before we close the meeting?
Oh, and I do just want to say that sometimes we are in the process, because I get that a lot. We're in the process because we have families, and contrary to popular belief, I like to rest sometimes too, but, we are in the process of vacations and things of that nature. So when there's scheduled vacations and you come in here, well, you're still going to get accommodated, because she's the vacationist, non-vacationist taking person I've ever seen in my life, because she's constantly like, I'm like, oh, well, you're supposed to be on vacation. Oh, well, did you see that's and so and that's and so and that's and so? Or I'm coming in because, so-and-so is coming by, or this, that, and the third. And so I think sometimes we need to keep in mind that, yeah, we do take vacation, because the first thing I hear is, well, where's Shamania? And I'm just like, on vacation, and then she'll pop up, so I'm just like, so do understand that there are times that, we will be stepping away, but thank God, get some capable people in here to kind of run with this a little bit and be a help. So it's not just, it doesn't rest solely on, two people. That's it.
Anyone else got anything to say before we close the meeting?
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank
You're
you, thank you all
welcome.
for
And
coming.
I say that too. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak.
Thank you. Thank everyone for attending.
Thank you.
So you need to have, the board go through the process of a motion to close the meeting, and you have to have a reason, so you want to have the form and everything.
There, do you want me to go?
You guys have does somebody have the form for you guys to use to go to do
Yeah,
the
I
closed
can,
meeting?
I can get called upon.
Okay, just to make sure, you want to make sure when you're going to, in which you can close the meeting for this purpose, you know, to do an evaluation.
Yeah.
So just want to make sure you follow the right steps to do that. And so you want to entertain a motion to go into closed session, and the reason would be, employee evaluation.
I'll make a motion to close the meeting due to employee evaluation.
I second the motion.
Yeah,
Any
just ask all in favor. of
All in
closing the meeting.
favor of closing the meeting?
Aye.
All righty.
Any question on the reason for closing the meeting, specifically of personnel evaluation? Okay, right? Okay, so that, and Paul, you make sure on the form you'll fill it out that way.
Right.
Okay. All right. So you have a motion, a second, everybody approved?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you all.
Thank you,
I think
everybody,
the
for
board's gonna
attending.
Continue meeting in closed session. So you know, when they're finished the closed meeting, they'll be back in open session and then they'll adjourn, but there won't be any other business.